In the sun-cracked cradle of a kingdom scarred by heresy, a child was crowned to mend what his father had broken. This is the story of Tutankhamun, the boy king who inherited a realm fractured by religious revolution. His father, Akhenaten, had shattered centuries of tradition, casting aside the entire pantheon of Egyptian gods to worship a single deity, the Aten, the sun disk. But this new faith left the people adrift and the powerful priesthood enraged. From 1332 to 1323 BC, a boy who was once named Tutankhaten, meaning living image of Aten, ascended the throne. He was barely 9 years old. His small hands clutched the crook and flail, symbols of a power far too heavy for his young shoulders. Under the guidance of his influential viziers, Eye and Horemheb, the boy king made a decision that would define his reign and echo through eternity. He renounced his father's god. He changed his name to Tutankhamun, the living image of Ammonius, signaling the return of the old ways. Imagine the atmosphere in Egypt at that time. The grand city of Amarna, built by Akhenaten as a monument to his new religion, was abandoned. Its temples fell silent, its streets slowly reclaimed by the desert sands. The royal court moved back to the traditional capital of Thebes, a city that pulsed with the power of the god Ammonius Ra. For the priests who had been stripped of their wealth and influence, this was a moment of triumphant return. The temples were reopened, their halls once again filled with the scent of incense and the sounds of chanting. For the common people, who had been forced to abandon the familiar gods they had prayed to for generations, it was a return to comfort and stability. But this restoration was not a simple, happy affair. It was a process steeped in political maneuvering and social tension. Tutankhamun, guided by his advisors, issued a decree known as the Restoration Stela. It described the land as being in a state of ruin, with the gods having turned their backs on Egypt. The temples were overgrown with weeds, and the divine statues were decaying. The stela declared that Tutankhamun had appeased the gods, rebuilt their shrines, and restored the priesthoods to their former glory. Every word was a deliberate rejection of his father's legacy, an act of erasing a chapter of history that was now deemed a catastrophic failure. Yet, we must ask, what did this mean for the young pharaoh himself? He was a child, erasing the memory of his own father. Was this his choice, or was he merely a puppet, his every decree a script written by older, more powerful men? The weight of a nation's fractured soul rested on his shoulders. Each temple he reopened, each ritual he performed, was a plea for divine forgiveness, a step away from the heresy that had defined his childhood. Think of the loneliness of that position, a boy king, caught between the ghost of his father and the demands of an entire kingdom. His eyes, which should have been filled with the joy of youth, likely reflected the flickering temple lamps mixed with the sorrow of a legacy he was forced to dismantle. The society itself was healing from a deep wound. Akhenaten's revolution had been a top-down affair, creating a divide between the royal court and the general populace. The return to the old gods was an attempt to stitch that divide back together, but reversals of this magnitude are never clean. There would have been those who truly believed in the Aten, who now found themselves on the wrong side of history. Social bonds that had been forged in the fire of this new faith were now being tested, and in many cases, broken by the cruel hand of restoration. The land was bound by blood and necessity. The people tilled the soil under the sun's merciless gaze, their lives dictated by the rhythm of the Nile and the favor of the gods. For them, the return of Ammonius, Osiris, and Isis was a return to the natural order of the world. But Tutankhamun's story takes a sudden, mysterious turn. Around 1323 BC, after a reign of only about a decade, he died. He was just 19 years old. A beacon of restoration, extinguished far too soon. For centuries, he was a minor, almost forgotten pharaoh, a brief footnote in the long history of Egypt. His legacy was not in the grand monuments he built, for his reign was too short. His true legacy was hidden, buried beneath the sands of the Valley of the Kings. Then came 1922. The British archaeologist Howard Carter, after years of tireless and often discouraging searching, stumbled upon a set of steps leading down into the bedrock. What he found would stun the world and redefine our understanding of ancient Egypt. He had discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun, almost completely intact. For the first time, modern eyes could gaze upon the full, unplundered splendor of a pharaoh's burial. The discovery was one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. The antechamber was filled with a chaotic jumble of golden chariots, ornate couches, and beautiful chests. Beyond it lay the burial chamber itself, dominated by a series of massive, gilded shrines, nested one inside the other like Russian dolls. At the center was the stone sarcophagus, and within it, 3 coffins. The innermost coffin, made of over 110 kilograms of solid gold, held the mummified remains of the boy king. And covering his face was the iconic golden death mask, an image that has become synonymous with the magic and mystery of ancient Egypt. The treasures were breathtaking, over 5,000 artifacts in total. Golden thrones, alabaster jars, intricate jewelry, bows, daggers, and even board games. These objects gave us an unprecedented glimpse into the life of a pharaoh. But they also deepened the mystery. Every golden artifact seemed to hold a silent lament for the childhood that was lost, for the boy who ruled an empire but never truly had a life of his own. The discovery ignited a worldwide phenomenon known as Tutmania. The world was captivated by the story of the boy king and the supposed curse of the pharaohs that was said to protect his tomb. But beyond the headlines and the spectacle, the discovery raised more questions than it answered. How did Tutankhamun die? For years, it was believed he was murdered, perhaps by a blow to the head. More recent scientific analysis of his mummy suggests a more complex picture. He had a club foot and likely walked with a cane. He suffered from malaria and may have died from complications of a broken leg. His death may not have been a dramatic assassination, but a sad, slow decline. So, who was Tutankhamun? Was he the heir of heresy who became a heartbroken restorer, a child crushed beneath the weight of eternity? Did the god Ammonius truly reclaim his throne through the actions of this boy, or was it all a carefully orchestrated political plot by courtiers who used a child to regain their power? His golden soul endures in museums around the world, but the full story of his reign remains shrouded in mystery. In the Valley of the Kings, where his empty tomb now lies, what untold secrets and heartaches still guard the boy king's eternal rest? What are your thoughts on the life and legacy of Tutankhamun? Was he a powerful ruler in his own right, or a pawn in a much larger game? Share your reflections in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the past.